Hello and welcome to episode 22, and now a special of Celtic Rumours TV, our live Eddie Howe reaction show for tonight. With your host Mark and myself Paul, John United Ireland from the Foreman will be joining us on today's special edition. Unexpected news broke today that Eddie Howe potential move to become Celtic manager have broken down in the final stages. There are believed to be various factors as to why this deal has broken down, including disagreement over budget, backroom staff reasons. Mark will be bringing United Ireland. John onto the show now, Mark.
I think I'm just dialing them up there.
Lads, if you can get your reaction to the news that broke as well today on the live chat, and we'll be going through the live chat today. Was it really unexpected news, as we all thought this deal was done? Where do Celtic go now? Is it deja vu all over again for Celtic, lads, that negotiations break down in the final stages in the thing?
You there, John?
Yeah, I'm in, guys, I'm in.
That's John, and thanks for joining us again, John.
Thanks for having us.
Perfect. John, just first before we start, your thoughts on this breaking news today?
In terms of not getting Eddie Howe, I'm kind of happy. I wasn't really keen on him. I've kind of said it on here before, and I've said it in the forum, but in terms of the negative press we're going to get, it's kind of disappointing that way. But in terms of not getting Eddie Howe, no, I'm kind of happy that way. So I've seen Lucien Favari's been kind of linked to us and maybe been talked to him. I'm kind of excited with that. I kind of hope that's...
Is it kind of deja vu as well for Celtic, John, that negotiations seems to always break down in the final stages, that we kind of can't really get a deal over the line, you know?
It's always the same. It's stuff always goes to the last minute, and then it just comes out the deals collapsing and stuff. It's never getting right in, getting it done there and there, or kind of getting it done and getting out of the line. It's always come to the last minute, and then we're getting the bad news. It's not happening. It's kind of... On you go.
Yeah. Sorry, Mark, you have a statement there from Celtic Football Club that you're going to kind of brief the live chat on there. This is what Celtic Football Club released shortly after the news was kind of broke first to the media, which was kind of unsuspectingly, wasn't it, Mark, that it broke first to the media rather than the fans themselves from Celtic Football Club?
Well, it was just breaking on Twitter, really, wasn't it? It started off a bit of gossip, and it kind of rolled through there, and then we get this statement for the... I'll read it out here. Following very positive and detailed discussions with Eddie Howe, with the belief that he would be an excellent candidate for the position of Celtic manager, we allowed time for the process, given he previously made it clear he was not looking to return to management until this summer at the earliest. We now confirm that Eddie will not be joining the club for reasons out with both House and Celtic's control. We wish Eddie success for the future. As part of the ongoing process, we have engaged with a number of candidates. We fully appreciate our fans will be seeking clarity in this matter, and we aim very shortly to announce the appointment of a manager with the quality and desire to take Celtic forward and bring further success to our supporters.
What was your thoughts on that statement that came out, Mark, that you read through? You were kind of looking at it today?
Well, they had to come out and say something. If we know it's true now with them coming out and saying it, but it doesn't really tell you much. It's just, well, they're saying they've been speaking to other people all throughout this. I don't know if that's true, Paul. I don't doubts about that. I think every man in his dug thought it was going to be Eddie Howe.
And I think Celtic Football Club as well thought that, Mark, didn't they?
Even going with that, I think the board thought that as well, that it was a done deal. And it's something in the recent I don't know if it just came to a head today, but for me, these problems have been brewing for maybe a week, couple of days.
And that's why it was kind of dragging on. The more it was dragging on, Mark, it seemed to kind of get moved to a worrying stage why they can't get it over the line. And we were always discussing these things about guardian leave and stuff like that. But they always seem to be something else behind the scenes that the Celtic fans didn't know about, and it eventually came to light that they just couldn't get a deal over the line, isn't it? You know?
Well, that's how it's looking like. But I mean, before everybody jumps on the bandwagon here and blaming Celtic and the board, I think Eddie Howe's got to shoulder some of the responsibility for this. Because even down to things like his background stuff and things like that, Paul, surely they'd have spoke about that even unofficially over the last few weeks.
I'll read out a statement from a journalist in Bournemouth in a few minutes there, just as we're going on about the Bournemouth staff. All right, I'll read out a statement there from. There was a statement released from an English journalist who has ties to Bournemouth Football Club. Alex Crook has said that Eddie Howe's deal to Celtic was officially off from today. Eddie Howe had agreed to become Celtic manager, subjected to Celtic fulfilling their promises to Eddie Howe and bring in his backroom staff who are contracted to Bournemouth. Celtic start negotiations with Bournemouth over compensation packages for their coaches, who Eddie Howe wanted to join them at Celtic, but Celtic have failed to agree a deal with Bournemouth to release the coaches. This was the main reason to why Eddie Howe said that Celtic weren't committed to him by not fulfilling their promise to get in his staff mark. All right. Second reason was Eddie Howe wasn't happy with the transfer recruitment plans Celtic presented to him and wasn't happy that they had their own transfer targets that they wanted to sign. And lastly was that Eddie Howe wasn't supposedly personal reasons, Mark. Like, I couldn't get this reason, personal reasons, right? So the personal reasons I'm thinking is that his family weren't committed to come to Scotland. But if his family weren't committed, Mark, sure to God, he would have known that by now, that his family weren't committed and coming to Scotland. You know?
It's the same as we're going to say about the coaches. You'd have thought this would have been something that would have come up right at the very beginning. I mean, even before he spoke to any future pals that he wanted to become coaches, you think he'd speak over with his wife and kids. And if they weren't keen, then he's known. I mean, if they've not been keen for day one, that's got to be something that's been going on for day one. I mean, what was he hoping to do? Talk them into it? I don't understand that side yet at all.
Yeah, John, what's your thoughts on that? Like that, it's indeed like said he can't get his coaches over the line, or do you know, like these negotiations should have been going on anyway between Celtic and Bournemouth, like not down to the last minute when supposedly Eddie Howe was agreeing to sign the contract. You know.
Yeah, it could have been. It should have been all agreed like his coaching staff and stuff weeks ago when he's agreed to take a job. But it could have been at the last minute of just kind of decided, don't really want to go up there. Or it could be just say let's just no push the boat to get the financial package to get them out of Bournemouth, and they're just kind of try to blame it on Eddie Howe now. So you never really know. Celtic board's kind of funny that way. You never.
You could put it too, Mark, that Bournemouth weren't happy what Celtic were offering for their coach. Like, we don't know if Celtic were, like, the rumour was that they were trying to get two coaches and their director of football. Like, that's the whole core of Bournemouth Football Club as well, that Celtic were supposedly after that, you know what I mean? So you'll be looking at
they're basically kind of ripping the heart out their backroom staff, but I don't know. I mean, if it's down to money, that's unless Bournemouth's been asking for crazy money. I mean, we can go about the board with Skpe or that. We'll never really find that out. But I mean, not even the wages and that the player that these coaches would expect. I'd imagine Celtic could at least match what they were getting for Bournemouth.
Like, but it's going back to the fact like that. If they did want to come, I think they would have told Eddie Howe ages ago, Mark, that maybe they didn't want to come. Do you know what I mean? That's like really like to go down, tell him the last minute, like they're really letting Eddie Howe down as well, not just Celtic. Like, you know, these coaches who he thought were his backroom staff and that they were reliable to him. Like, so not only are they letting Celtic down, they're letting him down. Like, you know what I mean?
They could have strung Eddie Howe along. It's like we're thinking he's strung us along.
And John, what's your thoughts on maybe Eddie Howe not being happy with Celtic's transfer recruitment plans, that Celtic showing him their transfer targets to players who they want to sign? Surely that the new manager coming in would have his own players that he wants to be coming, like, but is that going back to this whole problem at Celtic, that they identify the players themselves, that they bring in the new players themselves and the manager has no kind of say over it?
Definitely, that could be one of the reasons. It's we've got previous for that boards that pick the players and they sign players instead of the manager getting a choice. But if Eddie Howe, if his heart was really into companies, he'd have come up here, his backroom staff and got another coaching staff to kind of come up with him as well, like for somewhere else. But if his heart was really into coming up here and doing something with Celtic, it's a big club. There's a chance to come up here and win trophies, play in Europe. To not get back just because your coaching staff you want to bring me, he's not really want to come with you, and your heart's not really in the club either.
But that's what I was that's what I was saying, John. I was saying myself and Mark were on a phone call today when the news broke that we would sign. We do a short line. We were talking about and I said, you have to think about Eddie Howe's commitment to Celtic. One, he didn't give us a final answer for nearly 3 months, right? He won't come up unless his coaching staff were here. When his coaching staff then said they won't come, any manager, you speak of Neil Lennon came in, he worked with John Kennedy, he worked with coaches already here. Ronnie Dyler had no choice in who his coaching staff were when John Collins was appointed. You'd have to question Eddie Howe's commitment as well, Mark, to the club, wouldn't you?
Well, even without questioning his commitment to the club, surely he's been in football that long. He should know. He should know other coaches that he would be able to approach to come and work with him.
John?
I agree with Mark there. There's definitely other coaches they could have found. There's coaches in football that jump at the chance to come and coach at a club like Celtic, and for him to kind of use that as an excuse for not coming up, his heart definitely wasn't coming up here. So I'm kind of glad he's not came. I wasn't for him really. Anyway, I just kind of seen a lot of negatives about him, and obviously there's good.
I wasn't that excited about the appointment either, John. It wasn't like grabbing me as if I just thought everything. I thought he would have struggled with the changing culture, the changing city, the pressure and the difference between managing a club like Bournemouth and managing a club like Celtic. I thought
But we were setting it, Mark, because everyone thought the deal was done. We accepted it, that kind of thing. We accepted it, and we were going to get behind him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I'd have backed him with it. Do you know what I mean? If I'd been Eddie Howe, I'd have backed him. Just like even Neil Lennon, I never wanted him to be the manager, but I backed him simply because he was the manager. But Eddie Howe never really excited me as an option as such. I think he would have still done as a good job, but it wasn't really the kind of levelly appointment I was looking at.
Is it fair to say, Mark, that maybe Celtic knew about this before the 25th of May when the Celtic season ticket renewals came out, and they just led the Celtic fans on that the negotiations are still going on with the man? Do you think they knew that the negotiations broke down, or did it just happen today?
Well, I think, reading between the lines, I think the club knew that there was either it was off full stop or there was like a serious obstacle in the way it happening. I think that's one of the reasons why the season tickets came out. We spoke about it at the time. The club still needs to run, things still need to move on in every other department, and we all thought that the season ticket announcement would be around about the same time as the manager. And reading between the lines, that looks as if the club was actually planning, and something's happened in the last week or so that it's kind of put a spanner in the works with that, and then obviously we found out the day that there was a spanner in the works.
John, would you think the people who purchased their season tickets, every Celtic fan is kind of disappointed how this broke out, but people who bought their season tickets now are kind of in the unknown about Celtic at this stage, aren't they?
Yeah, fans will probably feel let down. Kind of committed to it again. I promise, obviously, getting in to see the games live. They'll need to kind of watch them for the streams again. They've committed to it, and obviously, someone will probably kind of renewed. Thinking Eddie Howe's going to be announced soon. That's how they've renewed, and obviously they've just been hit with this hammer blow. And maybe that's how they've announced it today. Supposedly, 30,000 supposed to have been renewed. So maybe Celtic's like, right, we've got a good renewal there. So we'll just to let them know now. We've not got that manager. And obviously, announcing another manager we're bringing in, maybe that'll entice some more people to renew again. And we've got 17,000 on the waiting list as well. But fair play to the fans that's renewed. It's the club depending on this money.
But, John, do you think that fans that were swithering whether to renew or not over who the manager's going to be, do you think Eddie Howe was a big enough name to sway them?
No, it didn't get me excited. I wasn't excited. No, the way I was like Brendan Rodgers. I was when I got announced, I was buzzing. When I heard it was him, I wasn't too. I was going looking him up and stuff, see how he'd done it. And one of the Reds put in the forum, he was terrible at setting up defences, and that's something we needed sorted right away. The manager came in.
That was Ed One. Actually, Tim lined up to come on the podcast to talk about Eddie Howe, but he actually COVID Ed One. He's just getting over catching COVID. But I'd like him up to come on and talk. If Eddie Howe had been appointed, I'd got him to come on and tell us a wee bit of what he's like as a coach and that, 'cause that's his kind of thing. He's into that, but it'll not be happening now.
Yeah, I had a wee conversation with him about it on the forum, and I asked him if he's going to choose out of Keane and Eddie Howe, and he says, to be honest, two of them are kind of behind me, but if they just had to announce one of them to Eddie Howe just a wee bit, so it doesn't really excite me much.
Mark, everyone, including ourselves on the podcast and a lot of lads on the phone, like we thought this deal was done, like, so, like, will it not be done? And after today's developments, like, are Celtic at a crisis now, do you think, in getting a manager in, or is it going to be a rush decision now, do you think, just to get a manager in?
Oh, well, I'm hoping that they've had. Well, there's been talk that they've interviewed that is it Favre you pronounce it? Again, I'm not very good at pronouncing these foreign names. Favre, and well, we know that they interviewed Keenan. He was in the short run, but the short list. But I hope that they've kept these other like channels of communication, for want of a better description, open with these other. Well,
my dog, yeah.
Hopefully, they've kept these channels of communication open with these other candidates, and that's where they're just getting through. Do you know what I mean? That's what they're saying today. They're working through and they're moving on to somebody else.
John,
I wouldn't say it's a crisis as such. I wouldn't go that far yet, Paul.
Mark, John, sorry, your thoughts on that?
I'm the same, I wouldn't say it's a crisis, it's just, that's only disappointing thing about it. Eddie Howe no coming, it's all the negative press we're going to get, and we're in crisis and stuff, whereas that just sees we've got a decent manager in, that knows the game, knows how to train, and the sports science stuff, and comes in and does a good job. I see he's taking the title again next season, as long as it's the right appointment. So, aye.
But Mark, is it like history repeating itself? Like I said on a podcast before, like in the rumours, and gossips like that, are Celtic going to repeat themselves again in history? Right, the final stages of negotiations will fall between Eddie Howe, and we'll be looking back to a plan B and go for second and third candidates when Eddie Howe is number one. Is that typical Celtic all over again, or?
Well, it did seem to dither over actual putting the finishing touches to deals and getting them over the line. But
it has law all over it, Mark, don't this?
It
has piece of law all over these contract negotiations, don't this?
That kind of way.
And we were worried about that in the previous podcast, that it was there that Peter Law will be involved in negotiations of the contract of new manager at some capacity, it was said, you know.
But I still don't lay the full blame of this at the Celtic's door. Eddie Howe's played a long game with Celtic here, and for what we've known, he's told Celtic to take the job, and Celtic's accepted that.
Just going by there, look. Sorry, Mark. A good thing came from Michael on the live chat. He says the only thing that concerns him now is that the new appointment feels about being the second choice of the manager's list. That he wasn't the number one choice. You know what I mean? Like, could the second choice maybe go? Look, I wasn't your number choice anyway. You told me you were getting Eddie Howe. Are we going to start moving down the line a bit more, Mark? Do you know what I mean? You know.
Don't think managers and that would look at things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Still an opportunity to manage Celtic whenever. Do you know what I mean? I don't think. Oh, I'm not your first choice. I don't want the job, kind of thing. There's been plenty of managers and coaches out there that would be more than happy to take a Celtic job.
Can't be right keen all over it though, wouldn't it? You know, is this name in the running, Mark? Do you think? No.
Honestly, I think it's got to be. I've said it all along that it would be in the running at some point. Due to the relationship he's got with Desmond and that. I think
John, sorry.
I was just going to add that the other week it came out that even Roy Keane felt that his chance had passed now. Maybe that was when Eddie Howe had told Celtic he would take the job. That's why Roy Keane supposedly came out and said that to his close circle of friends. I don't imagine it's a big circle right enough.
Exactly. John, would you think that it would be fair to say that he's back in the running, Roy Keane?
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, I probably think it'd be maybe probably getting a phone call and asking if he's still interested. In terms of that, it's Roy Keane. He's kind of doesn't suffer fools, and he just wants people in that park that's going to be going out there to win football matches and play for the club, play for the badge and bring success. But it's just a side of Roy Keane as well, in it, the hairdryer treatment and the kudos to the dressing room and stuff and things like that. But if he came in, I'll get behind him. But as I say, it's not going to really excite me much either. But it's that's old Dortmund coach at Favari. I kind of excite me a lot if he was to come in. I really hope it is him.
What about this? Well, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. Definitely not. And this Greek Aussie manager that's supposed to be coming in. He's managing over in Japan at the moment, and he's won leagues in Australia. I think that I looked this fella up there a while ago, and this fella does not excite me. Like, you know.
Well, what's the thing as well? Somebody put up in the forum. It's the City Group own the club he's managing just now, and Fergal Harkin's supposed to be crowned as director of football, and the bookies have made him favourite. So there could be something in that as well. He could have been contacted too. So as I said, it didn't excite me. I'd never heard him until my mate.
Do you think so, John? Maybe going at that like that. Maybe Eddie Harkin is there going to be the director of football, and that maybe Eddie Howe wasn't kind of impressed that Richard Hughes wasn't going to be considered for the role, and maybe that was part of negotiations breaking down, that Richard Hughes wasn't going to be part of his plans either, and Harkin was going to be director of football.
That could be a part of it, but he shouldn't be demanding who's director of football. Because just say he comes up here and he's successful for a season or two, and he leaves, he's going to take him Will, and then Will left when he's director of football. You want a director of football that's want to come here long term and have a plan. It's going to kick us on. Then when the manager does leave, he's got a plan in place to bring somebody else in right away and keep the structure going that he's set up instead of just leaving after 2 years with Eddie Howe.
Mark, would you think that could be a consideration that maybe? I don't think we're going to speculate now what kind of names anymore after what happened today. Like, but maybe Harkin is the director of football, and Eddie Howe mightn't have been happy with that.
Oh, well, John says here it could be part of it, but remember weeks ago we spoke on here, Paul, about whether it would maybe Harkin would be the director of football, Hughes would just
and Richard Hughes would come in as a kind of a chief scout.
Chief scout. But I put back John says here, a manager like Eddie Howe anyway shouldn't be coming in to demand. For me, the director of football is like a higher up the chain job than the manager. A lot of fans will need, the fans in the stands don't see it like that. But as a club, for me, director of football is a bigger, more important role than the manager, because as John says here, it's a continuity, it's their plan, it's their long-term outlook that we're following. So a manager coming in shouldn't be making demands of who's going to be basically higher up the chain than him.
Who's to blame here, John, do you think? Is this Eddie Howe for stringing Celtic along for so long and then deciding kind of at the last minute that he wasn't signing, or is it Celtic's fault for not getting his backroom staff over the line in which he wanted, or can we just blame the two sides for basically two of them not getting the deal done?
That's the thing, there's two stories kicking about now. It's what one do you believe? And it's Eddie Howe, I think he has promised to take a job, and it's kind of came to the last bit, and I've kind of had cold feet, his coaches and stuff, and he just wasn't allowed to come up here himself either. I feel like, because the coaches were his pals and that as well, the board could just be lying as well to kind of take the heat off him, because I know fans will be raging. There's a lot of fans excited. I think Eddie Howe's going to be announcing. So I don't know what story's true, and I'm not really going to get the full truth.
Well, if I can just go into the thing about Ed earlier on, somebody said about the signing targets, he wasn't happy with them. So where did they come from?
That's like I'm saying, yeah. I was that was my next. That's the next part. Is that
we've been on for weeks about hopefully Eddie Howe's been working in the background, looking at players, even talking to players and sounding them out about moving up to Scotland.
So maybe there's a director of football there that's looking at targets.
Maybe that's what it is.
Because like we wanted, that's Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon's coming on the show.
Plenty of times before, right? If Eddie Howe had come in, he should have been allowed to bring in a couple of his own players that he trusted than he elected. But back to the thing we spoke about all along, it should be the director of football. They should have the main input on who we're signing.
Because he wants a style of play, Mark, that he wants the club played. So he wants to begin players that he thinks that Celtic should be playing, and that the manager should be able to have a system for these players suited to this style of play. Maybe Eddie Howe was the manager that was suited to this style of play, and he had a plan. Like, you look at this young lad there that we signed there, the fella, the young lad I mentioned the other day, Mark. I forget, he's 17-year-old.
Dawson.
Yeah, Joey Dawson. I mean, like, you like to think maybe that there actually is a plan behind the scenes, that Celtic are working behind the scenes, and that, look, they're probably saying, Eddie Howe, look, you can bring in players, but you're not having full control of the signings. You know, we need to have a plan for the future. We need to bring in some young players as well, but we want you to breed into the club. You know, we want Celtic to have a long-term plan, you know.
Well, I said the other night, I think like that Dawson sign, I think it'll be more down to somebody like Chris McCart that'll be looking at that kind of like looking at young players and things like that. But man,
like this,
any manager that comes into Celtic, whether it's Eddie Howe, Roy Keane, whoever, they've got to work under the structure that Celtic have set up or are planning and setting up.
I was looking at something today, right? And now this is not from no source. This is just from myself, just thinking myself. Like, maybe Celtic turned around to Eddie Howe today. Look, it's been nearly 93 days since Neil Lennon left the club. We've been talking to you for so long. You know you're not number one target. You still haven't given us a direct answer. And you still haven't signed a contract. Today we need an answer. He couldn't commit. I was thinking maybe Celtic put the club in the deal, Mark, that he hasn't given, which with the Champions League qualifier just around the corner, with supposedly this being the biggest rebuild in the club's history. Maybe Celtic both said, "Yeah, look, the deal's off. We'll move to the next candidate. Look, we still have plenty of candidates into the job. If you can't commit to us now, the deal's off." Do you think that could have happened, maybe?
I think it could have happened. I'm not saying it did or it didn't, but I think there's got to have been a certain cut-off.
No, like, because like every
we need to know.
Every media source, Mark, is blaming Celtic here. Like, you know what I mean? Every media source has said Celtic couldn't do this, Celtic couldn't do that, Celtic transfer targets. So maybe Celtic actually did pull the plug on this deal, and like Eddie Howe was just not committed in making a decision yet. Like, do you know what I mean? You know,
could well be, Paul. But that was just said. The club needs to move on. We can't sit and wait for forever. Do you know what I mean? So maybe the club has said we want
exactly, but like
for the end of May. But as we said before, all the talk about gardening leave, right? Bournemouth were out the playoffs and everything. There was no reason. If Eddie Howe was taking the job, there was no reason for him not to be announced.
John, do you think that could have been
problems?
Do you think that could have been a situation maybe Celtic pulled the plug, that Eddie Howe still hasn't committed to the, and he actually couldn't give a decision today, and that maybe it was dragging out too long trying to get the Bournemouth staff in?
Definitely, that played a big part in it, because as you say, we need to get things up and running now. Champions League qualifiers are just round the corner. We've got a fan base that's kind of up my arms now. It's kind of want success brought back straight away, and Celtic's want to just get the plans on order and just kind of start getting things moving again. And he's kind of not getting a full scale answer if he's going to come and committing. So certainly I just pull the plug on it and go for somebody else. So if that's the thing, Celtic's not coming and actually says we're going for Eddie Howe. It's just been all media and the press, the papers and the radio stations and stuff. There's no at all saying anything about Eddie Howe. It's just the manager will like that.
Do we have an idea who this candidate are actually in advance talking to them, Mark, or can we believe the board, Mark, that they're actually in at advanced stage with another candidate the way things have panned out today?
I believe that they're in advanced talks with somebody. I definitely do believe that.
I heard, and I saw it on Twitter, and Welchie put it up that John Kennedy started running to the showers.
But just saying on the live chat there, do you lads think the recent events in Glasgow had anything to do with a decision made by all involved? Nah, no, nothing. I don't think that would have any bearing on it at all, Terence, to be honest with you.
I thought, Mark, that I thought about that, right, with all these recent events in Glasgow and all the violence up there and things like that, that Eddie Howe wouldn't have experienced that so much because he was an English-based manager.
There was riots down in London and that, didn't they?
Yeah. So I don't think he would have experienced it, Mark, and I don't think he would have received the abuse from some of the journalists out there just because he's a British-based manager. And I don't think he would have got some abuse because obviously he's the manager of their rival. Like, but I don't think, Mark, he would have got the abuse that Neil Lennon would have got, that Brendan Rodgers would have got, just because they were Irish. Do you know? So I don't think that would have came into it. I think if anything related to that was that his family didn't want to move up there, and I think that's the only thing I can relate to. That is that maybe they didn't want to come up there, because he supposedly he has a young family, and maybe he didn't want to bring the family up to Glasgow. Do you know, that kind of thing?
No one to expose them to it. As we've spoke about before, when I said about the culture shock him coming up to Glasgow. I don't know his family situation, what age his kids are, but even going to these fancy private schools, his kids are still there as the Celtic manager's kids. Do you know what I mean? There'll be a certain amount of grief involved in that kind of situation. So whether that comes into it.
I saw it on Twitter there already today, like some of the Celtic fans and some of the Celtic groups and stuff like that, fans groups and stuff, are starting to point the finger at Dermot Desmond and Dominic McKay for not getting this over the line, and that Celtic now are going to revert to a panic by appointing a manager as a panic. That's it's all going to be panic from now on, Mark. Like, is it too early though for Celtic fans to be panicking so wide that Eddie Howe wasn't going to be installed anyway till June? And like, obviously, as we were led to believe that they had other candidates anyway that they've been touched. So I was thinking, Mark, seeing that Eddie Howe hasn't committed yet, maybe Celtic were already discussing the jobs with Eddie Howe. And maybe Eddie Howe wasn't officially, maybe he wasn't guaranteed a job either, that Celtic was still in negotiation with other managers, do you think?
No, as I said earlier, I think everybody expected it to be Eddie Howe, even the board.
Even the board did, but they always had a plan B.
But they've spoke to other people that hopefully they've kept the lines of communication open. So it's just a case of moving them on a stage further. But
I'm hearing some.
Still, even for the gossip and the rumours that are coming out, I don't know how people can blame Celtic for the situation we're up in.
I can't.
They seem to have.
I honestly can't, Mark. I actually can't show the thing.
Eddie Howe, his word, and Eddie Howe said, "Meet this is a criteria, and I want this X. And for what you're seeing, Celtic have done what they had today. They've tried to get the backroom staff in he's wanted, right? And
but some fans have came out and said, Mark, you're going by. You said that Celtic took Eddie Howe at his word. Some fans, I don't know the fan on Twitter, I'm not going to say his name on Twitter, but he came out and said that when this statement came out, they had Eddie Howe at his word and blah, blah, blah. And he came out, Fraser Foster gave Celtic his word as well that he'd come and join. And it seems to be history repeating itself again, that Celtic are just taking people's word rather than just getting the deal done. And if they can't get the word, then the deal's off. That we're not learning from past mistakes.
Oh, well, I suppose you can look at it like that. But I still think Eddie Howe's played a...
It's still too early to throw the blame game, because I think there's going to be more legs to this story as the couple of days go on, and maybe in another couple of days more things will start coming out, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
Probably never find out the truth of what actually happened, Paul.
Maybe he talked to Neil Lennon.
Maybe, but there's two sides to every story, and the truth's somewhere in the middle usually, isn't it?
Do you think we're going to relate to panic buying, John? Do you think is it too early for Celtic fans to be even thinking like this, No,
I don't think it was panic. I think there's always been one or two candidates there. Just all the eggs have been put in the one basket with Eddie Howe, and he just kind of let us down at the last minute. So he gave us his word, really, and there's nothing you can really do. You can't force him to come. He gave us his word, and kind of Celtic took his word. And we've just kind of obviously think there's going to be him, and at the last minute he just pulled out. So there's nothing, as Mark said, you can't really blame the board. There's nothing we can do if he's no way to come. And his heart's not in it. It's for the best. If his heart's not in it, it's for the best. Instead, he kind of talk them down a wee bit, and he comes up, his heart's still not in it. And when he comes up, he doesn't really settling up here. And it kind of
I think that's it, Mark. I think, John summed it up there. It's for the best if he's not really, heart isn't really into it. And as time went on, I kind of started getting that impression that Eddie Howe's kind of heart wasn't into it. As it dragged on more and more, me and you were kind of coming up with these scenarios that maybe it was the Garden Leaf, it was the Bournemouth. But then when the season finished last week, Mark, like there was still no answer there, and it kept dragging on again. Like the more dragged on, the more uncertainty I got that it was going to be Eddie Howe.
Oh, you were a bit dubious at times over it because it was dragging on so long. But, I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. We're going on as if this is Pep Guardiola or somebody like that. This has fell through me. It's Eddie Howe. I mean, it's no...
Like, we don't know who the other candidates are, Mark. Like, they could be...
To me,
they could be totally different to Eddie Howe. Do you know what I mean?
To me, this is no great disaster, Paul.
That's like saying, like, I don't want someone like say if it's not, I don't want, like, some people have been throwing names out there already, like the names now that came up after this panic buy thing, like, that one thing I don't want Celtic to be doing, Mark, is going to appoint the likes of Gordon Strachan, maybe Jack Ross from Hibs or crap like that. Like, people are just trying to put a cloud over Celtic and this certain fans group that had kind of negativity around the club since the end of the season. Do you know what I mean? And they're throwing out this kind of crap again, aren't they?
It's just the negativity rolling over for the way the season finished. It just creeps into everything, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. I mean, John said we weren't keen on Howe, but if we'd got him, we'd have backed him. We wouldn't have been dancing in the streets about the appointment. But see, no matter who Celtic sign, there's going to be people on social media and on the forum moaning about it. That's just the way the world now. You can't please everybody. There's that social media just gives everybody a platform just to...
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? There's people moaning, no matter who Celtic sign, no matter who they appoint as a manager, there's people out there that just like to have a moan about it.
Mm-hmm. So this manager appointment of Eddie Howe was supposed to be in line with the likes of, like, the hype was building up, Mark, that it was going to be like a Brendan Rodgers thing and a Martin O'Neill era, that Eddie Howe was going to be the next big manager stepping into Celtic. Do you think we still expect another big name manager to come in, the likes of far from Borussia Dortmund and stuff like that? Or,
well,
to me, if you get Roy Keane, I think Roy Keane's going to be big name, Mark, if he's next down the line. Do you know what I mean?
But even we're going about what Dermot Desmond, his reaction to things, I don't imagine Dermot Desmond will be too pleased with the way Eddie Howe's...
No, I talk about that next. I talk about that next. You're jumping, Mark.
This is what happens when you don't give me a schedule to stick to.
I told you, follow the lead.
But, so it comes down to that as well. But I think Celtic will still be looking at a top. I think you can forget talking people like Steve Clarke and Jack Ross and things like that.
Mm-hmm. I can't see Steve Clarke, Mark, because he's not going to leave Scotland when they're just going to the Euros, and for him to come, Celtic is going to be after the Euros, and Celtic are going to have no time, John, as well, to build a squad within 2 weeks of the Euros finishing. So I can't see Steve Clarke coming in. So I think we can rule out Steve Clarke, hopefully, because I wouldn't like Steve Clarke to come in, John, would you?
No, really. Say we come in and get behind him. In terms of the way Steve Clarke sets his team up, I know sort of out defensively will be hard to beat, but I just can't see it. It's to say that Lucien Favre. I really hope it's him. So I was looking at his first season at Borussia Dortmund, finished second to Bayern Munich. He was only 2 points behind him. And they went to Nice as well. I think he got them third in the Champions League. It was their best season in decades. Also Borussia Mönchengladbach, and he was at them. They've been at them, they're fighting relegation. They survived it. And then the following season, got them into fourth into the Champions League, and that was one of their best seasons ever as well. So you can see when he comes into a club straight away, he just transforms it, and he pushes the team right on that season. So I really hope it's him. So obviously that's what we're needing this season. Transform everything again and pushes right on.
So just going what Mark there, when Mark kind of jumped the gun there on me there, like Desmond, as we know, was involved heavily in these appointment of Eddie Howe. He was involved in all 3 meetings that supposed to be had with Eddie Howe, and Desmond, as being one of them, thought this deal was done. Will he be sort of disappointed, Mark, that we can expect Desmond to actually even react bigger now to the next appointment as manager?
Well, I'm hoping so anyway.
Because I think this would have hurted the Mark, because he was kind of set too on Eddie Howe, wasn't he, Dermot Desmond, you know?
Well, it looks like he's met him, he's took him at his word. And, I mean, I suppose the way operating where Dermot Desmond operates, probably your word and your handshake's good enough in that kind of world. Do you know what?
Exactly. It's disrespect, Mark, really, isn't it, from Eddie Howe? It's disrespect to Celtic. It's disrespect to Dermot Desmond after sitting down saying to him and thing like...
If it's been his family, he should have known months ago his family wasn't keen. If it's down to coaches, he should have known weeks ago that the coaches weren't.
And even if they maybe they could, Mark, as we talked about that, maybe because he was in guardian leave that he couldn't maybe actually talk to him, and when he did talk to him, then if they were so grateful to Eddie Howe, they really stabbed him in the back as well today, like, you know, and these Bournemouth coaches.
If they've strung him along, they're out of order as well. But the thing about it as well was with the statement that Celtic made for reasons out with both his and Celtic's control. I mean, I don't know what could be outside Eddie Howe's control that would stop him taking the job if he'd agreed to take it.
My only thing to that, like, sorry, John, go on.
That's the thing. If he really wanted the Celtic job, he'd be up here this week with the Celtic guy have obviously getting announced as manager, whose heart was really in this club and who's really want to be here to win trophies and make this club successful. As if his coaches weren't want to come, he could have fun. Coaches somewhere else.
I can't see, John, like, how was out of Celtic's control, like, you know what I mean? They were going by what Eddie Howe was saying to them, that is his word, and then it seems to all fall back on Eddie Howe why he's not taking this job, and for reasons unknown, it seemed to be just at the last minute, like, do you know what I mean? You know?
It's been the last minute. It's just a wee sucker bloke, because I think everybody was all about up for it, and he's just kind of pulled the last minute. I think it's quite disrespectful, and I'm kind of glad he's not come to the club, especially for that as well.
Terence Casey said surely they can't have another cockman in as one is bad enough. I presume he's talking about me, I think, is he? Or Mark, where do we go from here? Are we going to wait a little while longer for an appointment? Or are we still going to see what me and you thought we'll see Eddie Howe being appointed was on Tuesday, the 1st of June?
I don't know if it'll be Tuesday, but I'm thinking really it's going to be the next week before there's civil war, as in like we'll all be rioting in the streets, but before the fans really start to turn on things. Do you get what I mean? There's a lot of fans, a lot of them are swithering whether to season tickets, will we renew, will we know who's going to be there. I think that's kind
of roaring the board as well, Mark, with these season ticket renewals like that. They want to get these season ticket renewals done and dusted as well, and like they thought this deal was done. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's not just season ticket sales.
It's the revenue.
The revenue for them, but it's not just that. It's just we actually need to move on. We need to get this
and have a plan. Yeah, Celtic need to get on, Mark. Like, have a plan.
Things forward.
These qualifiers are just around the corner, John. Like, and like to say like that Celtic had a plan and Eddie Howe was a part of that plan, and now it's falling apart. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is like uncertain times really for Celtic at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's adding negativity onto negativity. Wish they had, if he gave his word, wish they have them in this week and kind of getting a clean slate and getting everything up and going and up and running, looking forward to the season. Which he's just pulled at the last minute, he's kind of put us in a bit of a hole. But I'm just hoping there's somebody there that's a strong enough, good quality manager that they've had in mind as well. We've kind of had conversations with as well, just to kind of see if he'll be interested. And hopefully somebody is there and they've got them in this week and we can just put all this behind us and just kind of kick on and try and have a good season next season.
I have a good one here, Mark, from Derek Murphy. He says, how can the club say that they're in advanced talks with someone else, right? If the talks broke down today, surely the backroom staff were approached in the last 13 weeks to see if they would have taken the job. Like, it's working both ways in that, I think, right? Celtic maybe approached Bournemouth, but they never kind of made a proper offer because Bournemouth was still in the Championship, and with Eddie Howe being on garden leave, they didn't make a concrete offer. Maybe Celtic could agree a fee with Bournemouth, and that's one of the reasons it could have collapsed. Two, I think they knew about Eddie Howe going back a couple of weeks, Mark, and they were actually in talks with this candidate for the last week, and they're actually in an advanced stage now with this candidate, and that's why they were going back to when the season tickets came out, that they said a decision on the manager will be made fairly soon, that they were in advanced talks with this new manager and they want an advanced talk with Eddie Howe altogether. You know? What do you think of that, Mark?
I agree with that. I think the board knew earlier on in the week
I think so.
that there was a good chance this wasn't going to happen.
I think they found out, Mark. I think they found out maybe a week and a half ago, nearly a week or so, Mark, that they knew Eddie Howe wasn't going to come off the line. You know?
Opened up talks with whoever else they've been in talks with.
And this is how, yeah, I know they're at an advanced stage now with this new candidate. And when, I think then when maybe John, that they're in this advanced stage now with this new candidate, that's when they leaked this story about Eddie Howe not come to Celtic today. Do you think
it's just what Paul Ward says in the comments here. That's what I think. They've kind of stuck as a wee bit to people renewed because they kind of seen their social media and stuff, like Eddie Howe was kind of exciting a lot of fans, so they've kind of waited till the season ticket renewals and they've got a good sale. Now they've kind of announced it, obviously let the body blow out, but just hope for this year there's a good candidate there. That's really there to get out of the line.
Any thoughts, lads, who you'd like to be now with? Are you hoping that there's a rumour going out now that this new candidate is Favre? John, is that his name? John Favre? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's Lucian Faverius. I think it's Lucian Faveri, yeah.
Is there any concrete rumours to that, you think, or anything like that on maybe tonight before maybe Sunday I might look at some German things and see if there's anything on there?
Well, the thing with Favre was he's been mentioned that he
a few times.
No, but he was seeming to talk about the ones that have been interviewed. It's meant to have been Eddie Howe, Favre and Roy Keane. Maybe Favre's always been a kind of...
Like, I'm thinking, like, I think along the lines now, like that maybe these lads were always in the line, like maybe they haven't thought that they'll not get the job yet because there was so much uncertainty that Eddie Howe, maybe Celtic, maybe no, right, that there was a verbal agreement between Celtic and Eddie Howe, right? A verbal agreement, but nothing was concrete. And Celtic kind of never leaked that out to Favre and Roy Keane, and they're still kind of kept them in the loop as we're still going through the process. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
They've never turned round and said to Roy Keane, Favre, look, we've got a new manager. They've just said, look, we've got an agreement with somebody else. I think that's maybe when Roy Keane came out and said they didn't think he'd a chance of the job now. So just the other week.
Yeah, but you're still in the fold. There's not no official agreement yet. We're still in the process of talking to this manager. That's what I'm looking at, Mark. That they said to Favre and Roy Keane that we're still in an advanced process with this manager, but we're not at a proper agreement yet. But you two are still in the fold.
It would be. See if Celtic still had just put all their eggs into one basket with him and no kept communications with other ones. To me, that's as bad than negligence as the appointment of Neil Lennon without even looking at who else was in.
And still keeping these candidates in the fold, yeah, exactly. Because one thing I would have hoped, John, is that Celtic did learn from their mistakes. Like, you know what I mean, that they have a plan B. Like, we're going back to the Fraser Foster, we're going back to Neil Lennon, do you know what I mean? Just without no candidates, that they still kept these candidates in the loop, in the job, in the area. Would you think that maybe they have learned from their mistakes, John?
Possibly. Definitely. It keeps people in the background in the loop, as you say. But it's a thing of how much have they kept them in the loop? How concrete have they made it to them? Is it just kind of kept in the back of their mind? I think Eddie Howe was committed the whole way. Just up to the last minute. But
here's an interesting, like, there's no legs to it, but Paul Ward has suggested they're like, what about the fella from Wolves, Mark, leaving Wolves recently, like Sancho, Espiritu Sancho leaving Wolves all of a sudden, like, I think maybe Celtic could approach him or anything, you know?
But like, so, Wolves is a weird setup. There's that agent, he's got a lot of saying what Wolves were doing. I don't think there'd be anything in that. But to be honest, I don't know if I would want him. He's a bit of a divisive figure.
Did you know we Keane though, Mark? No.
No, I don't think so. Just even going in the Wolves forum and that kind of thing, John. He seems to be a kind of divisive figure. Either loved him or hated him, kind of thing.
Aye.
Yeah, even that he's going back to that, Mark. Even in his press conference after the games and stuff like that, like if things didn't go his way, he was getting very kind of frustrated or angry towards the officials all the time. Like he was kind of blaming everyone else, but not the Wolves team themselves. Like, you know, I was lost in that a lot actually about him. You know.
Well, that would be a step up for Lennon. Then he was just blaming the actual team, wouldn't he? At least he would, if you come in and just blame the officials, you could get them on the forum. There are plenty of them on the forum that blame the officials for everything, isn't there?
I can you imagine now? Like, just imagine it now that Neil Lennon was appointed caretaker manager till the end of the season. That's what I'm saying. Next season, till they appoint a new manager, that they're in the process of appointing a new manager, and Neil Lennon will take up. Imagine the season ticket renewals then.
Peter Lovell. Now that Peter stepped down as CEO, we're going to give him a crack at first team coach.
Do you know what, Mark? It wouldn't surprise me with Peter Lorre. Would it, that if he took that decision upon himself? Do you know?
I want what's happening with his shares, Paul. There's something to look into.
Peter, yes.
His shares, now that he's...
Well, Mark, is that going back to that he's going to be still involved in Celtic at some capacity? Like, is he going to still have his shares and being around the board as a shareholder? You know, I'll have to look into that for another podcast.
We'll definitely have stuff to do with Celtic behind the scenes. We'll just not know it. Just kind of, it'll be took away from us. Like, obviously, letting us know something to do.
Is it right though, John? Like that, like myself and Mark said it at the start of when we were doing this podcast, and when Lennon was sacked, and when Celtic were going to appoint a new manager, that it was mentioned that Lord came out, said he was leaving then at that time, but then a couple of weeks later came out that Law will be a part of the process of hiring a manager, right? Even though he's not going to be with the club next year, he'll have a big role in appointing a manager. Is it right that he'd have a role to appoint a new manager, even though he's not going to be the chairman next season? CEO, sorry. You know, John?
I definitely think he's still going to have stuff to do with the club. Obviously, you say he had a role in appointing a new manager. I think he's definitely going to be having a run behind the scenes. He's just kind of been took away from the public view because fans weren't happy with him, fans were wanting him out. And it maybe messed up season ticket renewals if he wasn't removed. So he's kind of
Sorry, John. Continue there. I'll come back in. Go on.
I just saying there, obviously, he's have stuff behind the scenes, obviously, still. He's making too much money out, Celtic to leave. Obviously.
I think he'll stay there as maybe an outside consultant or something like that, that they can fire things back off, as Mark said, like, for his experience. But once he's not making the decisions, John, is the main thing. Like, if they can go to Peter Law because no one knows the club better than him, get advice off him, but then for maybe Dominic McKay then to have a defined decision of what's going on, do you know?
That's the thing, Willie will be having the final decision, but that's it's the same with Brendan Rodgers. He wasn't really getting the final decision at the end with the players and stuff, and I think that's one of the reasons he left as well.
Mark, what did I speak to you about last time in the last podcast about Flan Alonso being spoken to by Dominic McKay about the first team development in a meeting and the first team future? Could he be in the running, not the manager job, but with some role within this first team squad? Maybe Eddie Howe wasn't as. Maybe that could be. I'm just throwing the room out there because I saw Fran Alonso on the live chat. Mark, do you think he could be involved in this next first team setup? Like, there's no legs to this now, like, but I'm going back to this meeting, Mark, that he had with Dominic McKay, and why would the ladies' manager discuss the men's team? Do you get me?
Well, it's maybe just to have a general discussion about things like that.
Alonso's gone into the showers.
But I feel, he's kind of earned his stripes a bit, hasn't he?
Considering, Mark, that you didn't know who he worked with, like, you know what I mean? He's worked with the likes of Pochettino as director of technical football, and he was one of Jose Mourinho's coaches at Tottenham and everything, like for the first team and everything, like so. He was tactical manager for both teams, like so. There's something there about that I think we're not seeing about this fella. Do you know what I mean? You know.
Oh, I wouldn't say we're not seeing anything. He's in charge of the women's team,
and they're doing well, like
but it comes down to that's his CV. Look at his pedigree, who he's worked under, and football's football, tactics wise, Paul. So if he can make it step up to be part of it,
I think it could be. It could be a situation, Mark, that maybe he could he might be promoted, considering that there was a meeting there. Do you know what I mean? It's a strange, like, you know what I mean? Because he's the manager of the, maybe Dominic McKay was just floating things off of Mark because he was in and out of the club and he's in the club, and what was his thoughts on what happened in the first team? You know, did he hear anything that was going on in the first team? Maybe it could just been that. You know what I mean?
Getting a football man's opinion on football. That's always been.
John, do you think it's going to be another week or so, or another 2 weeks, or do we actually need this appointment in if we're at an advanced stage? Or are we expecting something to be done fairly fast?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's this week, and I'm expecting it to be this week as well. It's just to get all this negativity away.
It's kind of always on the 1st of June, isn't it, when Celtic appoint their managers. Actually, was it Martin O'Neill, Mark, you said was appointed the 1st of June, Brendan Rodgers was the 1st of June, and...
I put it up on the forum earlier, I think it was earlier on this morning when I was talking to Richard, was answering him. Celtic, when you look back, apart from Neil Lennon, because he was already at the club and that, but at Celtic it's been June, May, the end of May, June when they've appointed other managers. Season tickets always go on sale early in April with Venosa. Season that way, it's not really any different. It's just more, again, it's just down to the hurt for last season that everybody's wanting everything done ASAP. We want it done an hour ago kind of idea.
I just wanted to ask Barry Iceman, he's on the live chat there, like, what's his thoughts though, because he was, as one of us, thought that Eddie Howe was done and dusted, and we were actually thinking he was one that was on the podcast this fact that he's fairly confident that it's going to be Eddie Howe, and we were all confident, like, who does he actually think is the next manager, and maybe who does he think is going to be next in line? You know what I mean? I've a feeling, Mac, just because of the connection between Desmond and Keane, that maybe it's going to be Roy Keane. You know, Mark?
Oh, I don't.
It's going with the connection, like, do you know what I mean? Because Desmond wanted him as well before, didn't he?
That's what I said earlier. There's always that connection between Desmond and Keane, and just the wee kind of Irish mafia group kind of thing, isn't it? So I don't think Roy Keane's out the running. I really don't. If I talk for this favour, whatever, I'll need to learn how to say that before he becomes a manager, won't I? If it's
I definitely have to remark.
I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Terrible.
Thank God he's not. Imagine if this Australian fella came in.
Shuggy, we'll call him Shuggy.
I can't even get the Scottish names right. You mind saying?
But I think that if it is no Favre, I think it's going to be Roy Keane. I've got a sneaky suspicion that
there's going to be names going out there now again.
He's maybe going to be the ultimate backup plan, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I agree, John. I think same with Henry Cosgraves there, John. He's saying it's between Keane and Favre, but it's going to go back to the same start now again. Any manager that leaves his club, I think that's going to be linked to Celtic again, John, isn't it? You know?
Definitely. So hang on, as I say, how do you think this will rub off on the players as well? Because probably a lot of them said in their head they're going to be working one day.
Yeah, because you think of like one of the reasons myself and Mark and Barry thought like that it was going to be Eddie Howe, that the deal was done and dusted, was when Stephen Welch came out after a game and he says that the next manager, Eddie Howe, his style of play will suit us. He'll suit the young players and give the young players a chance. Like I say, the players thought it was Eddie Howe as well, Mark. You know.
I think that we said earlier. I think everybody
Everyone.
Everybody
Yeah.
thought it. Even the press, and we spoke about. Peter Law's got his wee pals in the press that leak stories to. And everybody in the press just expected Eddie Howe to be announced as Celtic manager at some point.
Oh, I see here now, and we actually saw this today, and I texted you, Mark, about this, and I was like, oh my God, please not. It's on the live chat there as well. That Sam Allardyce has been fucking linked to it. Jesus God, no.
Get him signed up.
No chance.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ. Maybe tried to play the long ball up to it, yes, he. Jesus Christ. You know, imagine this. That certainly would. If they want season tickets renewed, that's certainly not going to do it, Mark, is it? Sam Allardyce.
no, and he'd want a share of every season ticket that we sell probably as well.
And he wouldn't even get
He's as dodgy as a bag of monkeys, that Sam
Then with-
Allardyce, I wouldn't.
Then with the interview he got caught over in Saudi Arabia, remember that? Came in, man.
Just
And
he's shady. He's a shady man.
he was only two. So look, his first team he managed, sure, was in Ireland, sure, Limerick City, sure. That's the one of the most. I'd be careful now how I say that, in case they find out where I live. One of the most dodgiest places you can fucking go in Ireland. You know what I mean?
Well,
You know,
England manager when he was caught taking bungs.
yeah, that was that.
That's how he lost it, I think, wasn't it?
He gave that. I think he was only manager for about 2 games or something at the time, John. Wasn't he? Not like 2 games.
It came out,
And
I
he was
think.
telling about how we used to take backhanders off agents to sign players and stuff like that. Like he said, like you tell the club it was one price, you tell the agent there was another price, and then when the money come through, you get a backhander. Jesus Christ! I'd say he was up to some scams in his time, Mark. There, you know.
I'm sure the taxman was after him for money and everything. I have no chance I would let Sam Allardyce near Celtic.
But Mark, it's a true thing about the English Premier League. And who were you speaking to there on the phone about it there the other day? About this circle that's in the English League that everyone turns to the same managers all the time. It's a circle. It's a
Sam
Allardyce. It's a roundabout that these same managers.
Maybe I don't know if you can mind him, Alan Kirbishley.
Corbishley, yes. Corbishley.
He was another
Tony
man that just...
Tony Pulis was another one.
They all just to get jobs down in England. For me, it's nothing to do with their actual managerial ability. Because some of them are the worst managers you can see. The football plays terrible. And just, for me, there's something dodgy going on. That's one of the reasons.
I couldn't see another relegation team out on to Sam Allardyce because of Watford. Not Watford, sorry, West Brom being relegated. Because that's what he was known for, was keeping these teams up. But that really ruined him out that he couldn't keep West Brom up, didn't it? You know?
I think that was the first time he'd been relegated. He usually does it all the time, but I haven't done that time.
You know? You're dodgy on then, John Terry. Jesus Christ, if he was linked to the job. You know, I don't think they'll go for someone like that, Mark. I think Eddie Howe was the youngest manager that we were going.
Either.
I think that kind of level of manager, and the youngest we would have went, I think, was Eddie Howe. I think that was the youngest manager that Celtic would have went at. I couldn't see him going for someone inexperienced, considering unless they're going to bring in someone like Gordon Strachan to walk above him to give him guidance.
Bringing in a young kind of manager coach, it would need to be a really, really strong backroom team behind them.
You know, I couldn't see Celtic doing that anyway, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Oh, sorry, Terence said he lives in Limerick. Sorry about that, Terence. I knew it. It was Terence, and it's actually a lovely place now, actually. I work in Limerick, Terence, so sorry about that. I really landed myself there, didn't I, Mark?
We're waiting for you outside your work.
You know?
Just ask him if his wife needs any Slim Fast. I'll get you in the good books.
You know, no, but go back to, and I think Terence would agree, like, years past, like, Limerick had its worst time in Irish history going years back, and one thing you have to say about the Limerick community there, Mac, is they all came together to push these drug dealers out, and they pushed them out, and no way would they let violence come back into their city now. No way would they let it.
I watched a documentary on that a few years back. You know, it seemed dead ruthless.
It was, Mark. It was at the time. I think was it Terence. I think it was around the early 90s, the early 2000. It was a hard time to be living in Limerick for maybe for the likes of Terence living in there. It was a horrible place. People getting killed, innocent people getting killed for being in the wrong place for the wrong time, Mark. Being and
drugs
the,
a lot of places over the years.
yeah, and one family member got killed, and when the whole Limerick just rallied around this family, Mark, and they pushed the drug dealers out, and that's one thing Limerick is known for, for doing that, that they really, they wouldn't let it come back into their city, but
so we're
not
going there for a night out then?
I certainly not anyway. I won't be inviting Terence anyway.
Bring your ching.
It's true what you said, Mark, it's not related to thing, but it has roomed so many estates, towns and stuff like that. It's drugs, hasn't it? It's just ruined so many families,
Oh, it really has. Even where I stay, Paul, it's a wee housing scheme, right? But it's a bit notorious, as anybody in the live chat that stays about Hamilton area will tell you. But it's not as bad as it used to be. Back, see, 20 years ago, there were streets that.
Yes.
No, I mean, I wouldn't have let grot bags walk down the street herself to these places.
But even I stay here now. I'm seeing it here now, and I'm seeing the start of it. You've so many things out. Like myself and Mark might actually start up a conspiracy podcast as well. We're starting to see young fellas now, Mark, going around and with all the negativity on media sites about how bad smoking is for you, and you see still young fellas just to be part of the group smoking. If I knew back then, Mark, what smoking would done to you, I wouldn't have touched the fag, I'd say, if I was a young lad now.
I'm the same, Paul. I'm kind of struggling to stop smoking as well. I kind of stop it for a few weeks, and as soon as I take a beer, I end up just smoking again. Then it's just a cycle. It's tough, man.
I totally regret starting smoking. I even regret starting smoking more than I regret starting drinking.
See, they're going on about there's a thing now here in Ireland that they're trying to declassify drugs. There's a big whole debate, right? But the thing I can't get right that they were talking about, right? These are the same groups, right, that want to get cigarettes banned outright. They want to ban cigarettes outright in Ireland, this group. But they want to decriminalise drugs, the likes of heroin, cocaine, and things like that, right? That you don't get a criminal sentence, you go into rehab. So you get more drugs in rehab than you would inside you know what I mean? No sense to them, the
government when they ban, on you go, mate.
But the police see all the young boys. Now I've got a wee nephew that gets pulled up and caught with wee bits of grass all the time and that. He's not doing anybody any harm. He's walking for his bit down to his pals, or he's walking vice versa, and the police will see him.
That's all right, yeah, for your postal use, Mac, if he was small, but
it's not. The police should have better things to do with their time and pull a young boy up for a bit of grass in his pocket and that.
But it depends on the guard too. Then I call him the guard outside police, but it depends on the police officer Denmark who stops it. You could get one police officer that would make that a big deal then for you, and he'll probably bring you through every single court if he didn't like you, and if he was out to get you,
It's an easy, not even an arrest, but it's an easy number for them, and they're checking their stats for how many tickets they've gave out. It's a lot of nonsense.
Kevin says there that it's actually the Cork people who are dodgy. We're special down here in Cork. That's what we think. We're a different breed to Ireland. We've our own passports and everything down here, Mark.
Henry talking about Lampard. I just said
yes. I wanted to move on from that.
Wouldn't he take Lampard?
Is that appointment, Mark, too inexperienced for such the rebuild job that we do? That we're doing, not just Lampard, anyone that's going back to this first fella, Mark, that was linked to the job first, Mark. I know he's gone away out to Italy somewhere. Is the Manchester City lad, yeah.
Parma he joined as a head coach.
Yes.
I mean, I thought Lampard was doing a good job for Chelsea. Obviously, Chelsea's got bigger ambitions for where he was doing, but
Mark, one thing I saw about Lampard then, Mark, is that
again, it's down to the backroom staff.
Yes.
You know, I mean, Chelsea's got the Man City and that. Every department they've got the best that they can afford and the best that's available for that department. So somebody like if it was like a young coach like Lampard, he'd need that same kind of level of support at Celtic. Every department
Hmm.
would need to be the top notch game for we're going about project players. For me, that would be a project manager.
And like, what I noticed too about Lampard as well, like that he started falling out with senior players as well. Do you know what I mean? Giroud was rumoured to be falling out with him. I mean, that happens with a young manager like that. Senior players kind of try to overpower a younger manager,
Uh,
you know?
well, well, if Barry was only tell you in any dressing room there's guys that run the dressing room. You know, Scott Brown would have been the prime example of that. So if we saw with Ronnie Dyler, if you've not got the respect to senior players, you're going to be struggling.
Hmm. Would you think in any capacity that maybe Ronnie Dyler is in the running of this, or do you have Celtic maybe seen enough of him that he won't be a future Celtic manager again, John? Ronnie Dyler?
I don't think Ronnie Dyer would come back to Celtic. He's happy where he is. He's kind of somewhere good. I think it's New York, isn't it? Is it a New York team?
It's a
Yes, yeah.
It's kind
for Man
of City group. City group.
Man City, yeah. Like
I
there's if we're going back to Harkin as director of football, like you kind of have to throw out that link as well, like that maybe Harkin could bring him in and work on Lee Harkin, because what I heard is all these Man City groups that are boss, they're all Man City is kind of a role model for all of them, that Man City kind of loan their players out to all these kind of teams as well, you know, these teams that the Man City group buy, and they're all based on the Man City model, all these teams, the way they play and stuff like that, you know, so that's would you like him back, Mark Dyla, or has that boat sailed?
Ronnie. I know I said it for long enough on the forum. Me and Welsh,
Hmm.
but again, it would be back to it would need to be the right setup. But like John says,
And then him bringing his own staff this time, Mark, or something like that. You know what I mean?
well,
You know.
him and the director of football bring in the staff kind of thing. But
Hmm.
I can never see him coming back. I think he said I don't think he enjoyed it after the first season.
And I think, Mark, what we saw too, like, is we saw a great example of some people say, never go back to your old club twice. You know what I mean? Leave on a winning streak, and we just saw a prime example of that happening to Lee Lennon this season, didn't we? You know.
I'm a great believer in that myself.
Hmm.
Never really, off the top of my head, I can't really think of many players that it has worked out for coming back. But
It hasn't really, like, Mark, and like, and that's true to be like the
Charlie
you know,
Mulgrew, probably he was one of them, wasn't he?
probably he was, but he left in when he was younger then as well, Mark, didn't he?
Aye, with Aberdeen, I think, wasn't it?
You know.
Oh, Wolves he went to.
Is it Wolves? Aye, was Wolves first, wasn't it? Aye, in Aberdeen, I think that's when he kind of made it a wee bit, and then he get brought back. It's kind of a lot of young players in it. They get released and kind of make it somewhere else, and they kind of come back when they've kind of got to a standard.
It's just been rumoured there that Harkin and Roy Keane are out in the lash tonight. Well, they're not in Cork anyway because we're in lockdown, so unless they're drinking in the field with cans,
Roy
they're...
Keane doesn't drink.
No, he gave it up years ago, didn't he, Mar?
Roy Keane doesn't drink.
Do you think, though, will we see a more mature Roy Keane if he did come in, John? Do you think we'll see a more mature Roy Keane? Do you think maybe he's allowed the more calm approach under Martin O'Neill to be level-headed? Or would it be typical Roy Keane that if things didn't go his way, he'll start doing what he normally does, come out and naming players and shame them in the media and stuff like that?
I think he would come back a bit more calmer, but he would still have the Roy Keane. He would still let players know when they're not up to standards and not doing well, but I think he would kind of manage it a wee bit better, like calmer, because he's at Celtic, and I think he would maybe want to make a success of it and kind of know what to lose the dressing room and stuff. But
because we saw that in Lee Lennon, Mark, that he came back a more mature manager the second time. But one thing I noticed about Lee Lennon is when he matured and he got in, he lost that bite that the fans loved of Neil Lennon being on the sideline, jumping, celebrating, giving its all to the players and maybe to the sidelines and stuff like that. It wasn't the same Neil Lennon in his second run as manager, so it wasn't the old Neil Lennon, you know?
No, he didn't have the same. Well, he wasn't showing the same kind of passion in that. I know what you're saying, but the thing about it with Keane is he's been away and he's been an assistant manager for so many years under Martin O'Neill.
That's what I'm saying. Like, would he have learned a more calmness approach, Mark, how to deal with stuff more?
We spoke about it before, Paul, that
Mm-hmm.
the assistant manager's a kind of buffer between the manager and the team.
Exactly.
Assistant manager's it should be him that's the kind of the pally one with the players kind of thing. He's the buffer between them and the manager.
And you couldn't see Roy Keane like.
So he must have been doing something right for Martin O'Neill to keep him in that job with the Republic when he went to Aston Villa.
Exactly, like especially that Martin O'Neill must have seen something in Roy Keane that maybe we haven't seen, Mark. That maybe Roy Keane is good at trading. Maybe Roy Keane is good at like getting players their position. Yeah,
Managing standards.
Yes, you know, and that's maybe something that. Like any manager you expect to come in, even Barry said that, like you expect any manager to come in to put high standards into a club, John. But maybe Roy Keane is the man Celtic need at this precise moment to get these players who are staying and who left us down this season just get their finger out of their ass.
Definitely, I got a point there. I said, did Roy Keane no fault it was Jonathan Waters in Ireland because he was kind of faking injury and no way to train, and he kind of had a fault with him because he wasn't training. He was kind of basically getting him told.
The best thing I heard about
the Tino kid on that his mum or dad had died.
I think if Roy Keane kind of assisted, they were kind of at it. Just so they couldn't train and stuff, and I think he went through him for it. He's wanting people that's going to come in and train and go and play for the badge and go and win games.
Like that's one thing. Like you'd have to give Roy Keane is that Mark. He'd want the best. And what did you say about him, Mark? That if you're playing, you got to show your manager you're playing and you won't be dropped. You show your manager you can't be dropped. Do you know what I mean?
It's on YouTube. It's one of the compilations with him and that. Is it Mika Richards off of Sky? Mm-hmm. And that's what he's saying. He says if you get into training, performing, I'm paraphrasing this, but performing to the highest level, and you're out in the field, giving everything you've got, your manager, don't give your manager the choice to drop you. That's the thing. If you're playing at the top of your game and getting 100%, the manager can't drop you.
But even Michael Conroy saying there, like Michael who'll be joining us on the podcast on Sunday, or even tomorrow, Mark, if there's news, like myself and Mark are ready to go if there's any news alerts or anything like that. That's when we got the news today. The first thing we said, Mark, is that we do a podcast tonight when this news broke. So when there's news, we'll bring you a show. But Michael said, Mark, you wouldn't want Roy Keane to be different. You wouldn't want him to calm down. You want him to be the fighter that made him Roy Keane as manager. To bring that, because that Roy Keane would brush off in the club. I think with his reigning mentality, Mark, I think that would brush off the club. You know.
Oh, Roy Keane came in, the full public face of the club would change to an extent, Paul.
But the problem, Mark, then is that
he's not going to sit there in press conferences and hold his wheest. He's going to bite his tongue. If something needs said, Roy Keane's going to say it. And that, for me, could be a problem when it comes to the Celtic board backing him up.
See, that's it, like.
Do you think he would get the same abuse as Neil Lennon?
He wouldn't stand for it.
I think he might at the start kind of get that level, John, but I think it would be, I don't think he would put up with it. I mean, if Roy Keane spoke up against something like anti-Irishness or whatever in Scotland, it would be news.
Mark, do you know what would happen? Do you know what?
He'd take it the full way, I think, as well.
Roy Keane speaks Americans here. Do you get what I mean? American football fans here about Australia. If he spoke up about something like that, the newspapers of the world would be sitting up and taking notes here, I think.
Mark,
I think he would demand stuff done.
We saw a prime example this year with Steven Gerrard. Do you know what I mean? That the Scottish FA would back off. You know what I mean? They backed off. Rangers got away with numerous stuff this year just because Steven Gerrard. And that's a fact, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
As soon as Gerrard came in, he spoke about the referees had been against Rangers for years.
And look at that. Willie Collum hasn't refed in Ibrox all season, maybe once. And then they complained him, and then he hasn't refed there all season. So, Mark, there's an impact there. But I couldn't see Roy Keane backing down off the Scottish FA and stuff. He'd speak up. But the one thing, Mark, that Roy Keane wouldn't take is that, like Neil Lennon put up with that, if the board didn't back him, do you know what I mean? He'd want the board to back him. Like if Roy Keane said something, Roy Keane would want the board to back him and be on level terms with him. Roy Keane wouldn't be a yes man, Mark. Do you know what I mean? That'd be my only problem.
There's
Do you know what I mean?
question that he would be a yes man. Roy Keane would be Roy Keane's man, speak his mind, whether folk liked it or no. That's what he's been like all his life.
That would be the fallout, Mark. I think that could be the fallout if Roy Keane is thinking that if he wasn't backed in some capacity by the board over something, like I that's the only way I could see Roy Keane and Celtic not working is him the board.
Can you mind the interview with him in his press conference and the guy's phone was ringing?
I was raging.
Turn
it off.
Imagine if that happened in a Celtic press conference, the way the Scottish press would have projected that, the way Roy Keane had acted. They'd have turned him into some kind of devil, evil, do you know what I mean? Ignorant pig kind.
Exactly.
To me, that's just water off a duck's back to Roy Keane. I think he thrives on that kind of...
That's what Roy Keane thrives at, Mark. We used to see that too in Neil Lennon at his first said, Mark. We used to see he thrived in that, but since Neil Lennon came back, he was just... I didn't think Neil Lennon was the same person at all when he came back into the club. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't. This thing with Hibs like that, he'd have fallen out with Hibs as well, Mark. Neil Lennon was a broken man even before he came to Celtic again, I think. You know?
I think he just took that much abuse, and in the years his brain was just mentally drained, and just kind of where he wins off, just kind of leave it and just not say so much stuff because he wasn't wanting all that abuse again.
But just
come in and try and manage.
I just thrown out there now, like because they're going to be popping up, like there's no manager at this moment in the Scottish League who can step up and manage Celtic, is there?
In the Scottish League, no.
In the Scottish League, yeah. Like so Johnny Hughes, no, Mark, that recently left. Because, Mark, you know for a fact now that their names are going to pop up. Jack Ross's name already popped up. There's no manager there. And the board shouldn't even be considering these types of managers for jobs.
No.
You know?
No, nobody in the Scottish League I would even consider for it.
You know?
Jack Ross is the only one probably in it, and even at that, it's not really exciting. He's not really done anything, John, has he? No, it's not really exciting. I wouldn't really want him. But if I had to pick one, it probably would be him if it had to be one. But it's not really exciting. I kind of want to go higher on that, and it's a better candidate.
Derek McInnes got a new job yet?
No, I don't think he's got a job yet, is he? He's still kind of...
No, he's still out, yeah, he's still out. But that's just showing a lot, Mark. Like, you know what I mean? That if clubs down the south are looking at Derek McGuinness and stuff like that, like, sure, he's definitely not. We wouldn't even consider him, like, but, like, I can't see why the media are leaking Scottish, not just Scottish managers, like managers in the Scottish League to Celtic, like, when clearly the fans know that these managers aren't good enough to step up. Like, I'm just half afraid that we're going to end up with John Kennedy.
No,
you know,
that's not going to happen.
I can't see it. That's caused too much uproar.
You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, but considering how some people would call the board this year being so brazen and some of their decisions being so quiet, would it surprise you if they did it, John?
Not really. Not really. I think they've kind of got good season tickets in now, so they kind of maybe be happy with that. But any surprises? But I think suppose it was sold 30,000.
It could be a reason to put out the season tickets, get them now, and when the season tickets are done, announce fucking John Kennedy then. Could
be. Paul, that's how they've kind of let Howie kind of run up until they've sold all his season books. Obviously they've sold a good amount now. It's kind of put out how he's not coming, so they could be. You've got a point there. But I suppose they've sold 30,000, but I think they're going to be selling any more than announced John Kennedy.
John Kennedy's not going to be Celtic manager. No, no.
I know that, yeah, but Mark, you can see why I'm saying it. Like how biased the Celtic board have been this season. Get the season tickets out now, say nothing, get them sold, and then we announce Kennedy. Do you know what I mean? Would it surprise you, Mark, if they did that?
You
know,
it would,
yeah.
It would,
But would it be so brazen to do it, I'm saying, the board? Considering the decisions that we had this year by him.
Do that again.
I said, would you think the board be so brazen to do it, like considering like how bad they've been and how bad Celtic fans have been against the board this season? Could you see the board announcing Kennedy?
No, no, just no chance in the world, Paul. It's just see if it
because like they'd be uproar, Mark, wouldn't there? They'd be uproar.
There would be. Just there would,
it
would be just a final total slap in the face to the
like realistically.
If Kennedy came in and won all his games in charge and won the Scottish Cup,
have a bit of an argument.
You'd see the actual people would have,
and especially how we saw how he was unable to put his own kind of tactics on a team. That like when any caretaker manager comes in, he puts his own kind of intake in a small bit of intake that he has, Mac. He'd always change something, a caretaker manager, just to put himself in there. But Kennedy did himself no favours in trying to get this job by it
was just a continuation of a Neil Lennon performances, Neil Lennon elections, Neil Lennon tactics. There was no. I mean, it's just said any caretaker manager would at least try to start something of their own kind of personality onto the team. But there was not. It was just a continuation of
none of that. Like what, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I kind of don't even want him to kind of be in and around the first team at all next season, John. Do you know what I mean? I want a clean slate. Like that's why I was so excited about the high department thing when he was coming in. Like I was excited because one, it was a new manager, it was going to be a new era. But one thing that Celtic, and they hadn't allowed it for a long time, was they're going to let Eddie Howe bring in his own backroom team. Do you know what I mean?
I definitely.
And that's what I like. Do you know what I mean? I'm just afraid though, like, is he going to be around Mark in the new with the Eddie Howe team claps in? Maybe Kenny is going to be around the Celtic first team next season again. Maybe he'd be assistant or anything. I personally wouldn't like it.
I think as long as Kennedy wants to stay at Celtic, Celtic will find a job for him.
Mm-hmm.
But
is he country, Mark? Though
I've said it 10 times, Paul. It's time for Kennedy to leave Celtic.
To move on and prove himself. Yeah.
His own name for himself.
What about Gavin Stratton as well? They want the hell leaving either.
Doesn't even see the kind of putting his names out there, right? Like the Dundee job's available at the moment. Like, and I know Jonas got the fright of his life when I mentioned his name the other day. But Kenny doesn't seem to be putting his name forward for jobs either. He seems to be happy where he is at Celtic at a comfortable level. But if he wants to progress his career, he's not going to be given the chance for Celtic, because I hope so, because he's shown us that he's not able to progress Celtic. And realistically, Mark, how many years would you think we've stepped back if we appointed Kennedy?
Oh, I think
would we be behind Rangers then?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, definitely. Again, a lot would depend on the background stuff that we brought in, but to me that would be going back to, I'd be expecting Tony Mowbray kind of levels of success if we appointed Kennedy.
Because I saw that on the Twitter today, John, there was a few lads afraid that because Howie was the number one target, that maybe Celtic board are going to get the decision wrong now, that maybe they'll go down to second, maybe third, fourth choice. We don't know what this next candidate's, where he was in the line, Mark. We don't know if it actually was the second candidate in line. This candidate could be third, fourth, fifth. That people are afraid they're going to go back to Tony Mowbray era, John.
It depends on quality in the second, third or fourth one. It depends on quality of him as a manager. So he could be a lot better than Eddie Howe, but just obviously Celtic boys went with Eddie Howe first. So as I say, they could have a better CV and just be a better coach all round and just have more about them. It just depends who it is really. As I say, Eddie Howe is the first choice for them, and it's not worked out, so it's on to number 2 now.
And Mark he's only been a couple of weeks in the job, like maybe 2-3 months, I think. Dominic McKay, has this already kind of maybe some fans group kind of split on him now, would you think? Or
there'll be fans complaining and moaning and saying it's Dominic McKay's fault, but as said earlier on, Peter Lowell was involved in these negotiations. for a reason none of us seem to understand.
That's what gets me, Mark. Yeah, it's how
But
was he involved? Like,
let's not forget that Peter Lowell was still in charge but the 31st of June, is it? 1st of July.
Maybe he's actually making decisions now, Mark. Yeah, exactly. Still,
As I said earlier, I don't blame Celtic board fully for this. I think Eddie Howe's played a big part in this pantomime, for want of a better description. But this is still another thing that's happened on Peter Lowell's watch.
and what about you lads? Maybe on the live chat, like, what was your initial reaction today when this news came out that Eddie Howe wasn't coming to Celtic? Mark, I think we were kind of more. What did I text you, Mark? I text you back going, "Wow, like didn't see that coming." Like, do you know what I mean? That was my reaction, Mark. I wasn't more
I think everybody
surprised. I was like, "Wow!" Like, I was expecting an announcement. When I saw Eddie Howe, you sent me Eddie Howe, and I saw Eddie Howe. I thought he was the manager's job. But then when I read your message, Mark, I was like, Jesus, I wasn't. Like, no one was expecting this. Like, John, no one was expecting it.
No, I was kind of, when I seen it, I was kind of having a wee check in Google to kind of see updates and stuff, and I typed them in, and I just kind of seen it in somebody's Twitter, and I just kind of...
You text me the same time as Mark, and I told you that we're doing a live show tonight to come on and discuss it, like, because it was such breaking news, Mark, that we actually had to come on, you know.
Oh well, we had to cover it.
Paul Ward said, Mark, there, like he wasn't surprised. I just want to get Paul's reason why he wasn't surprised, and maybe we can touch on that before we go. Mark, you were saying, sorry?
I was just saying, I was a total shock. Everybody in their dug expected Eddie Howe to be announced as the next Celtic manager. It was just, well, your reaction, as you said, you thought it was going to be that it was announced as manager, but I think he was shocked as much as... I think basically everybody was just as shocked as we were, even down to people in the press and that, I think, Paul.
It's true what kind of Terence said here, Mark, and I was kind of the same, like, you know, the longer it went on, and I said this to you, Mark, in numerous times, Mark.
You wish something signed in concrete about it.
You know, I said the longer it's not concrete, the more worried I'm on that this is going to fall apart. And I just didn't say in the podcast, I said to you, Mark, in phone calls like that, something's going to happen because he hasn't signed, Mark, and there was no indication, Mark, that he had signed. It was all, we were going by media, Mark, you know what I mean? We don't know how this deal was close. Do you know what I mean? Celtic saying that they were banking on Eddie Howe, but we still don't know how much of an advanced stage they were. Maybe they're actually more in advanced stage now with this new candidate, Mark, than they ever were. How we don't know, like, do you know what I mean?
I'd like to think that Dermot Desmond and Peter Lowell, Dominic Mackay are busy tonight trying to get something sorted as possible.
The show was waiting to see who comes in the door. The sweeping lady comes in. Do you want to be the manager? Neil Lennon pushing out of the way. Get out of my way, I'm coming in next. That's all for tonight, folks. Myself, thanks to John for coming on a short, late notice. My thanks to you guys on the live chat for tuning in, as it was such a breaking news show. But if something happens tomorrow, if something happens Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever breaking news happens, myself and Mark will be on the podcast to inform you. We'll go through it, we'll discuss it, we'll research it, we'll do everything to bring you a nice podcast for whoever will be the next Celtic manager. For myself, thank you, good night. Mark, we'll close the show.
Right, thanks very much, Paul, for everything you did. Thanks very much, John, for joining us. We'll be back Sunday night, where we'll hope Mikey and Barry will be on for a blether as well. I'd just like to say that's us. We've reached over 400 subscribers. That's absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much. Me and Paul had said that was our aim for this month of May to reach there, and we've done it already. So that's brilliant. Thanks, everybody. And if you're not subscribed, please do so and hit the like button. Right, thanks very much again, lads. Good night. God bless.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.
Thanks, John. Thanks a million, buddy.